What I've got is about 10 down and 2 up, so you know if that's high speed or not. That's but in town, the local provider, in the town of Clark City where I live, it's all just copper. But what they have done a few years ago is out in the country in their service area, they have dug in fiber to all of their rural areas. And so I'm not real sure what the speed is out in the country, but I'm assuming it's all the same central equipment, and so it's probably about the same. But what that does do is give them potential in the future to up that speed. There's, you know, with fiber, it's almost unlimited. And but anyway, to answer your question, where I am now is about 10 down and 2 up.
Senator, can I ask one question? I just wanted to clarify the difference in how you define high speed in your plan versus the House plan. Can you explain that to me?
Sure.
Kind of what the thinking behind that?
So one of the truisms, I think, in technology and certainly with broadband is that you're going to have different bandwidth needs over time, and it's going to, by virtue of that fact, be a changing goalpost. And at the federal level, the Federal Communications Commission has changed its definition of broadband. It used to be 4 by 1, now it's 25 by 3. So 25 megabits per second download, 3 megabits per second upload. That's the federal definition of broadband. When we created the fund in 2014, we used the definition of broadband at the federal level to define our unserved areas, those areas of Minnesota that lack access to broadband. So that would currently be 25 by 3, according to the FCC. We also utilized the state speed goal from the Governor's Task Force report to define our threshold for underserved. And so we've been consistent in what we're proposing in 2016 with what we used in 2014 to create the fund. The federal definition of broadband for the unserved threshold for the fund, and the state speed goal for the underserved threshold of the fund. And so I think consistency is important. I think it's also important to recognize the fact that as we use the internet more and more for different daily activities, our bandwidth needs change, and we've got to be preparing for the future. Any other questions, Vicki?
Well, it's real important to understand in the Senate bill that it provides opportunity for our local co-ops that are doing the type of work and doing that kind of upgrade on their technology already. I want to make sure that that's why I'm so supportive of the Senate bill, because it does provide some funding for those local co-ops that are making that move and making that investment already so that they have opportunity and access to some state funding.
What about beyond co-ops for-profit companies? Does it provide money there?
We want
Sure. You know, we put a lot of thought into creating this fund in 2014, and one thing we wanted it to be was technology neutral. So we're not picking, you know, fiber or wired or wireless over any other you know, mode of technology. The point is, it's got to be scalable, up to 100 megabits per second, symmetrical, so down and up. It doesn't have to be instantaneous, but over the long haul, this infrastructure has got to be sustainable and scalable. And then also, we were not picking winners and losers. So you could have a co-op, you could have a travel nation, a local community, you could have an existing service provider. You know, anyone who's operating in this space can apply or hopefully partner for an application, because that's what we want to try to incent, is get the communities together with their providers to talk about a shared vision for the future. Many of our cities are competing with other parts of the world, other cities in the state, other cities in the country over broadband connectivity, and it's so important that we give them the opportunity to make those investments, hopefully in partnership with providers.
Senator, I know you don't have the money yet, but do any of you up here have any indication of how many applications are lying in wait for the next round of funding to begin, and how much of those applications worth value-wise?
So I'll tell you, probably the biggest feedback I've gotten in the last couple of years is that a lot of potential applicants have sat out because we frankly have not put real money behind the fund. We have a cap of $5 million per application. Well, when you've got $10 million available, that's 2 applications. And so a lot of those, I think, more ambitious applications that might cover more homes or businesses have sat out the first 2 rounds of funding for that reason. And so that's why I think this year it's so critical that we put some real funding behind the fund and inspire communities and providers to talk about how to make these investments together and move forward. And so I'm hopeful with a larger dollar amount with the fund, we're going to see some of those folks who sat on the sidelines the last couple of years submit their applications.